Okay, so this is actually a really great one. It shows that someone's thinking through the financial and tax implications of building a company, but also the operational infrastructure of doing said building, right? So they asked if they should do a C Corp or an S Corp, but actually it started out with S. It's funny, I should word the question properly because it will allude to the way that the person's thinking or what they've read, right? So they asked, should I start an S Corp or a C Corp if I know that I want to raise venture capital funding? I imagine that the reason that they put S Corp first is because they're hearing a lot of things, probably from LLC Twitter or community or people who are just like talking about taxes, or they're talking about ease of setup and ease of maintenance. Because if you start a C Corp, you have to have board meetings or at least board minutes, or that could be a real big issue. Also, the documentation for setting up that organization is a lot simpler if you have an S corp. But the reason that you would have the reason that they didn't ask is in an LLC or C corp because S corps are more tax advantageous for a person to do because you can pay yourself rather than just taking like an owner's draw or owner's equity distribution or something like that, which is what you have to do through an LLC. So sometimes this S corp is a better option to do that, although on a tax side it's more complicated, so you probably need to have an accountant, whereas an LLC you can probably get away with using something like Wave accounting software or being really meticulous about QuickBooks, right? So that I'm just clearing the air so that you know that even asking the S corp versus C corp question is important, because it could have been an LLC or a C corp. Now it could be a DAO or a C corp. So many different ways that you can look at this this problem as far as like legal entity construction before you launch a company. That said, if you know that you're going to raise funding at the outset, like you're not even trying to even pretend like you're going to bootstrap, C corp. It's just easier, because here's the problem: if you set up a different legal entity and you raise venture capital funding, you're going to have to basically convert your entire corporation. Now, if you're early on, that might not be as painful as my face contorted to show you. But if you're later and you have business contracts, partnership contracts, employee equity contracts, other angel investment contracts, government contracts, IRS documentation, like there's so many things, business leases, like you have so many things that will happen where you have to get sign off on documents from everyone in every situation to convert it from an LLC or an S corp to a C corp. It can be, you have to do IP assignment docs, you have to do corporate resolutions, you have to, I mean, it can get down there. And it's not just the time, it's also the time and the amount of money that your lawyer is going to bill you for, because they're gonna have to go through and like track all this stuff down. And if you don't want them to do it, then you have to do it, and that removes focus from your company building, right? I've seen it happen. I've even helped people when they were starting out, like letting them know, hey, if you're gonna apply for funding for one of our capital partners at NoCap, like they're gonna have you set up a C corp. So if you ever think that you're gonna do it, you should go ahead and do it. Don't sell up an LLC. They didn't take our advice. They ended up having to convert. It was not fun for anyone, and it cost them some money. So if you're planning on starting a company and you want to raise venture capital and that is the goal, definitely just go ahead and do a C corp. We have a partnership with Stripe. Atlas, I think that you can get it done for $200 or $250 if you partner with NoCap. I believe on the market, I think it's $500. It's not terrible, right? And honestly, they know what they're doing, so it's probably better to just pay the $500 rather than trying to do it on your own. Delaware C Corp is usually going to be preferable. It's going to show that you at least know a little bit about the game. Always have at least 10 million outstanding shares or authorized shares. Don't be a rookie and do 1 million. Like, know your stuff, right? Do 10 million. Just look up rules of thumbs stuff, right? I mean, I can spout this stuff off to you, but in reality, if you're going to raise venture capital funding, you need to at least know that you know how to play the game. The game is entrepreneurship. And so by having 1 million authorized shares, it's not going to look good. By having an S-Corp instead of a C-Corp, it's not going to look good. By not having vesting periods for everybody on the founding team, it's not going to look good, including yourself. By not having a low enough par value for the stock, it's not going to look good. By not being in Delaware, it's not going to look good. There are lots of little gotchas that people, that investors will just, it's so funny. I've been in the game long enough to just laugh, because investors will reject you and not tell you why. And it can be something as small as you had an S-Corp and not a C-Corp. That's it. That's it. Like, hey, we saw that, we rejected you instantly. But if they tell you this information, you can convert and then reapply. Like, it's so many gotchas, and I think that's why I really wanted to start recording more of these question and answers, because not a lot of people know about them, and I should know that, because we work with a lot of founders on helping them avoid the gotchas. We even have an investor relations module in NoCap where we'll spend quite a bit of time helping people build out their investor relations program, because it's dense and it's hard. And if you haven't been around long enough and you haven't seen enough companies, you might not know what the gotchas are, even if you're Googling for the gotchas. So there's that. Hope this helps.